Number 7. When Mrs. Jones retired from her job at the public library after 4 decades of service, her young assistant realized that the responsibility was on him. So we are looking for responsibility for the first blank, and then our second blank is to keep the library running or going at that same high standard. So we always start with the second blank because it usually has easier words in it. So looking at these words, letter A says declining. So we don't want the notoriously high standard to decline. So that is the opposite of what we want. He wants to maintain that high standard. Conflagrating, that's a long word, might be a mystery to you, so I'm going to just put a little question mark there for you. Then operating. So to operate is the same thing as to run. So that really makes sense with what we're going for. And then insured. Well, we might want to insure the library, but that's certainly not this person's job, so that's kind of not what we're looking for. And from performing. So if we put that into this sentence, the responsibility was now on him to keep the library from performing at its notoriously high standard. So if he's keeping it from performing, that's the opposite of what we need, because if we're keeping it from something, it's going to be on the decline. So E is out. So now we're just left with 2, which is great. And if we look at the first blank for each of those, C says burden. So burden is kind of exactly like responsibility, so that gets a check. And then pressure also works, so the pressure is on him. But if you're down to 2 answer choices and you have a check and a check, and a check and a question mark, you're obviously going to go with the sure thing and use the 2 checks. Conflagration is like a big fire or big explosion, just FYI.